Pregnant woman is hit by a car. She is sent into a coma for 1 year. She wakes up, no longer pregnant, screaming, "Doctor, doctor, where is my baby?" The doctor replies, "Calm down, your babies are fine. You had twins, a girl and a boy. We gave them to your brother to watch while you were in the hospital." She says, "My brother? That guy is a moron. Why would you do that?" "I am sorry, ma'am. We had no choice. There was nobody else. He even took the liberty of naming them." "What?" she says. "What did he name my daughter?" "He named her Denise," says the doctor. "Oh, well, that's not so bad. What did he name my son?" To which the doctor replies, "He named him Denephew."
A husband and wife were married for 25 years. They were famous for fighting constantly and generally disliking each other. On their 26th wedding anniversary, the husband had a heart attack and died. A few days later, his widowed wife walked into the local newspaper's office and asked to post an obituary. The ad editor informed her, "We can do 4 lines with a maximum of 80 words for $100. "Nah," she said, "that's a lot of money and he didn't do much. What else you got?" "Okay," said the editor awkwardly. "We can do 3 lines and a maximum of 25 words for $35. "Nope, still too expensive," she grimaced. "What else you got?" Flustered, the editor wanted to get her out the door quickly, so he told her, "We have the economy option. 2 lines, 5 words max, $5. She agreed to that, so he filled out the order and asked, "Okay, madam, what do you want it to say?" She thought for a moment, then responded, "Husband dead, car for sale." A woman goes to buy a parrot and notices the prices are $100, $200, and $15. Curious, she asks why the last one is so cheap. The shopkeeper replies, "That one used to live in a brothel." Amused, she decides to buy it for $15. When she brings the parrot home, it immediately says, "Well, I'll be damned, a new brothel." The woman can't help but laugh. Later, when her daughters arrive home, the parrot chirps, "Well, look at that, 2 new ladies of the night." The girls burst into laughter too. But when the dad walks in, the parrot exclaims, "Well, I'll be damned, Pete, long time no see." Holmes and Watson decide to go on a camping trip. They hike for a few hours onto the moors. After finding a nice secluded spot, they set up their tent, build a fire, and watch the sunset. After dining, their fire had died down, and they decide to turn in for the night. They are awoken by howl in the middle of the night. The sky is beautiful overhead, black as ink, starry and cloudless. Sherlock asks Watson, "My dear fellow, what do you deduce from the beauty of the sky above us?" Dr. John Watson replies, "Astronomically, I deduce that the universe is vast and has millions of stars and galaxies. Meteorologically, I deduce that we will have good weather tomorrow as the sky is clear." After a short pause, John, now curious, asks Sherlock, "What do you deduce, my friend, from the sky above us?" "Elementary, my dear Watson. I deduce that someone has stolen our tent." An elderly couple in Down East, Maine are in bed one night when the old man wakes up and realizes his wife has passed away. So he calls up his son and says, "Son, I need you to come down and give me a hand. Your mother's gone." The son comes over, and together they lift her up and carry her down the stairs. Just as they reach the bottom, the son loses his grip and bumps her head on the newel post. And incredibly, she wakes up, calls them both idiots, and lets them hear about it for the next 2 years. Then one morning, the old man wakes up and finds his wife really has passed away. So he calls his son again. His son comes over, they lift her up and start down the stairs. And the old man says, "Hang on, son, be extra careful this time." The mayor of a local town calls his friend John, who owns a factory. "Listen, John, we all know that Pete in our town isn't the brightest lamp, but it's a shame that no one can give him a job. Can't you see if you can give him something to do in your factory?" "Sure, I'll give him a job," replies John. So Pete shows up. They try a few things. Pete clearly is a bit slow, but eventually they find him a nice quiet role on the factory floor where he packs boxes. All goes well, but Pete every other day would complain about having a headache and goes home. So one afternoon, John walks by as Pete says to his manager, "I have headache, I go home." So John says to Pete,
Hey Pete, walk with me.
They go into a small meeting room and John says,
I heard that you sometimes have these headaches, Pete. But you know what I do if I get those? I go to my home, take my wife upstairs, go into the bedroom, have a really good time with her, and then the headache is gone, and I go back to work. Maybe you should try that too. Pete nods and goes on his way. When John walks back onto the factory floor a few hours later, he sees Pete back at work, packing boxes. So he walks over and says, "See, no more headache, right?" And Pete says, "Yes, boss, no more headache. Also have nice house, boss."
Susie Smith went to church. The pastor asked if anyone in the congregation would like to express praise for answered prayers. Susie Smith stood and walked to the podium. She said, "I have a craze. 2 months ago, my husband Tom had a terrible bicycle wreck and his scrotum was completely crushed. The pain was excruciating, and the doctors didn't know if they could help him." You could hear a muffled gasp from the men in the congregation as they imagined the pain that poor Tom must have experienced. "Tom was unable to hold me or the children," she went on, "and every move caused him terrible pain. We prayed as the doctors performed a delicate operation, and it turned out they were able to piece together the crushed remnants of Tom's scrotum and wrap wire around it to hold it in place." Again, the men in the congregation cringed and squirmed uncomfortably as they imagined the horrible surgery performed on Tom. "Now," she announced in a quivering voice, "thank the Lord, Tom is out of the hospital and the doctors say that with time, his scrotum should recover completely." All the men sighed with unified relief. The pastor rose and tentatively asked if anyone else had something to say. A man stood up and walked slowly to the podium. He said, "I'm Tom Smith." The entire congregation held its breath. "I just want to tell my wife the word is sternum." Bus driver and priest died. What happened next? A bus driver and a priest die, coincidentally at the same moment, independent from each other. They arrive together at heaven's door. St. Peter says, "Okay guys, let me get your details." After he finds the data, he says, "Yep, I see it. You both lived a good life. Both of you can enter." And then to the priest. "Okay, for you we have a seat at the back of the room, row 954, seat 231. And speaking to the bus driver, and for you, sir, a seat on the front row, first class seat, center stage." The priest is first surprised and then indignant and says, "Hey Peter, what is this? I'm a priest. I was a permanent employee of the firm, always loyal to the business. And now I have to sit at the back? And he, who was only a bus driver, gets a first-class seat? That feels very unfair. Are you sure?" "Yep, 100%, Peter answers. "You see, during your preaches, most people fell to sleep. But he," pointing at the driver, "on the contrary, while driving, made many people praying as if their lives depend on it."